Hi, good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, Artist to Artist, conversation with yours truly, Dion Parson. It gives me great pleasure to have our wonderful guest on this week, gentleman that is making a name for himself. He's an amazing saxophonist, educator, composer, arranger, humanitarian, and he's doing wonderful things. And he just recorded and released a new album, and we're going to talk about that here. And you're going to be able to hear some of those tracks on it. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Mr. Godwin Louis.
Hey, greetings all, greetings, Professor.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing all right.
You're doing good. I know you've been busy, man, running around the world, teaching.
Yeah, it's been insane. It's been a crazy one. So I just got back from China maybe 35 hours ago. I had to drive straight from JFK to do an interview at 7 a.m. For radio about the album, and then I had to do some makeups at Berklee.
Yeah.
And then taught again yesterday, and now we're here with the maestro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The life of a musician.
Indeed.
Yeah, I have this saying to my students once they kind of like graduate and get on the scene, and you run into them, they're like a couple years on the scene, and they start saying about how hectic it is. I'm like, yeah, you sure you want to do this? Because
it's definitely
it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that a lot of people don't really know about. They just see you on stage, and like you say, you're living in Massachusetts, but you play in New York a lot, so that you have to drive hours to work, and then you go back to teach, and you got to be there early in the morning. It's another thing.
Exactly. Yeah, still between New York and here, and everywhere else in between.
Exactly. But you're doing it, man. You're on top of your game, and you're doing great things, man. Playing some amazing music, working with some great artists, teaching at a prestigious institution. But before we get to all of the things that's happening today, let's kind of reel back and talk about how you got started in the business, because everybody have a story, and from your story you can help to influence somebody else. So just share a little bit about your early influences.
Right, absolutely. So my father, the late Reverend Marcel Louis, is from Haiti. Both of my parents are from the beautiful island of Haiti, as we say. So I was born in New York, but I lived in Haiti for about 2-3 years. And that's where I picked up the saxophone during my tenure, my time in Haiti. And soon after, I started playing in the churches. So that's kind of like my early, I guess, ear training and professional setting. My brother and I, my brother Rex Louis, who plays piano now, who resides in Georgia, we were both, I think he's 2 years older than me. So I would have been like maybe 11. And he was 13, and we both played in our first professional group, a band called Forever Free in Haiti. It was kind of like a gospel brass band.
Okay.
I've never talked about that experience. That was like my first professional setting. And it was, the group was, it was put together by a missionary from, I believe, Orlando, Florida. Pastor Terry, I forgot his last name, but we refer to him as Pastor Terry. He was an American, and he pretty much had all these musicians. And then my brother and I, we joined that band. So that was kind of like our first experience. And I'm talking about like we had dress code. We had to wear like tuxedos when we performed. And that was sort of like my introduction to reading music as well and playing in a band. Again, the band was called Forever Free. And a lot of those guys actually migrated to the U.S. I believe most of them are in Florida, if not all.
Okay.
I believe maybe one of them is in Germany, but that's, almost 30 years ago now. So I've lost track of, I guess, 20 something years ago. And so that was like my first professional setting. And then when I moved back to the U.S., to Bridgeport, Connecticut, I started playing in churches thanks to my band teacher, the great Mr. Pearson, Dr. Pearson, as I refer to him as. And I had another mentor by the name of Dr. Dwight Berry, who I ended up playing at the church that he was the musical director at. Church called Walter's Amy Zion Church in Bridgeport. So those are some of my musical upbringing. Through there, I got to study formally with an amazing saxophonist from Connecticut, great educator as well, by the name of Herb Wilson, who pretty much is responsible, I would say, for the career that I have now in terms of a saxophonist, a human being, and composer, and all of that. He kind of instilled a lot of concepts in me in terms of the music, composition. We talked about it all. It wasn't just a saxophone lesson, but it was kind of like a lesson about life, about career. He kind of pushed me towards music education, to study music education at Berklee. And he wanted me to kind of like understand the history of music in general, specifically jazz. So then I attended Berklee College of Music. After I was in the Thelonious Monk Institute, formerly known as that. I guess now it's called the Herbie Hancock Institute. And then after that, I moved, back to New York, where I started, I guess, a professional career, been able to play with a lot of people since then. The great Al Foster, went to Europe with him. Just got back from China with the great Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center big band. So I've performed with them. I've performed with a lot of drummers. Bless his soul, the great professor. What am I thinking about from Berklee?
Ralph Peterson.
Ralph Peterson Jr. My gosh, it's a jet lag. The maestro, we learned a lot from him. Also got to perform, and I believe I always forget that I'm in one of Terry Lynn Carrington's albums.
Oh yeah.
Yes, got to play with her as well. So speaking of drummers, I'm on Obed Calvert's latest album, who's brother, who also co-produced my latest album. So as I'm telling you this, it seems like I'm a drummers, I guess, don't hate me. I used to play with a great friend of mine who has a wonderful band called Vision of Head, called Jonathan Barber. Played a years band, great band, love those guys. I think he has a new album out too, so check that out. And who else? EJ Strickland. So it seems like a lot of drummers. Definitely we did a few tours together. And I got to play with, I guess, a few other folks. Herlin Riley, the great Herlin Riley. My gosh, it's all drummers. We recorded 2 albums with Maestro Herlin Riley. So it's been a great journey, and now I just recorded my 2nd album. I have 2 projects that I'm already simultaneously working on already.
Okay.
So I'm excited about all of those things to come. And then in addition, I also do a lot of work in Africa these days, in Togo, where I have a club there called the Godwin Louis Rooftop.
That's pretty interesting. Can you tell us, because I was reading on that, the Godwin Louis Rooftop Jazz is a jazz venue.
It's a music venue. It's a music venue.
Talk about our connection with Africa, because that's from the sounds of the diaspora, that African Caribbean diaspora.
I've always been interested in connecting with the diaspora. I think it's ever since I moved to New Orleans when I was studying in the Thelonious Monk Institute. I kind of, for the first time, understood the contribution of the Caribbean to the sound of New Orleans. New Orleans was definitely a colony of, the French and also the Spanish, which is less talked about. The Spanish were there for a while, for almost 50 years. So you have that tinge, that influence there. And also the Haitians were also in Cuba, and the Oriente region. So that kind of, whenever I think of the sound of New Orleans, I think of that mixture, that melange, that fusion of the different sounds of the Caribbean, you know, whether it's English, French, or Spanish Caribbean. And that's why you always see that kind of like connection or that intersection sonically with the sound of the drums and New Orleans. It feels more Caribbean. When I live in New Orleans, they always refer to it as the northernmost part of the Caribbean because of that connection.
Yeah.
And so that kind of led me to write a suite and also do some research connecting both cultures. I guess the contribution between Haiti and New Orleans and the connection that's attributed to the inception of jazz as well. And then as I was doing that research when I was in Haiti, all roads led to Africa. So I started my journey out there, started with Togo and Benin, Ghana, kind of tracing. I was also interested at the time in my personal family DNA because Haiti, I always tell people, serve as a pilgrimage through traditional belief, especially the way, you know, the rhythms are used in Haiti. Each one of the rhythms are always like connected and attributed to tribes in Africa. You know, the rhythms in Haiti, you find it's Igbo, Congo, you know, Dahomey, you know, which are all tribes in West and Central Africa. So that's kind of how I started going there. There I met a great friend by the name of Gilbert Bangbatin, the owner, the proprietor of multiple hotels, Eldoria Hotel. And, you know, we decided to work together and establish the Godwin Louis rooftop out there in Togo, which serves as, it's kind of an extension of some of the work I've been doing in Haiti, also simultaneously with Experience IT, which is bringing music education in Haiti and bringing awareness to music in general in Haiti. So it's kind of like the same model, except for I have, you know, a club there and we're kind of pushing music from the diaspora there. So I've had bands so far from Cote d'Ivoire, from Ghana, and I think I've done 2 or 3 concerts with my band, including a live recording last year where I bought Great H and Charles, Axel Tosca, pretty much my band, the great Harvel Nakundi on drums, from Miami, Jonathan Michel on bass, and then I had like a mini choir of 9 people from Togo, and it's a mix of, I guess, jazz standards, some of my music from global, and then also some hymns, sacred music from over there. So look out for that. I'm not sure what we're going to do with it when we're going to start mixing, but we did record live at, you know, the Godwin Louis rooftop last year. So that's
beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's coming up soon. Yeah. So that's the connection with there. And I've also, during that time, have made some connections in Ghana, through the Ghanaian Jazz Collective, you know, Maestro Bernard Aissa, Victor Day, all those guys are doing a wonderful work there. And I think these are all things that we need to tap into, specifically you, Maestro. I want to see you, you know, performing with those cats. I want to see them bringing it there. And I should also mention Maestro Afolabi and Jerry Omole in Nigeria, which I also partner with. They have a group called the Saxophone Hub, but it's pretty much music education, and it's very well established. The infrastructure is there. Everything they're doing is wonderful. So I was just in Cameroon for the first time, connecting with the musicians there. I went to Congo, so it's kind of like been a lifelong goal to kind of bridge the gap between the diaspora. A lot of us don't tap into the continent, and I think it's vital that we understand the sound that came before the Caribbean and, you know, to the America, the source, in other words.
And a lot of it got, what I understand, a lot of it got kind of lost in translation by the time it got to America, but there's this lineage of some folks that still, you know, kind of supporting and sustaining the tradition. We had a couple of weeks ago a wonderful guest on, Derek Gardner, and Derek.
Derek's been out there.
He was on sabbatical from the University of Manitoba. He did his stay in Ghana and connected and did all of that. So we've been talking, and I've known him for many years, and that was the first thing he said. Hey D, this is what I'm doing. And we started making our connection. And I remember when I first put 21st Century Band together and started coming out here and doing gigs, man, I had more people tell me that I was going down the wrong path than and I was like, well, you know, there's something to be said here about bridging this gap between the Afro-Caribbean diaspora, because
absolutely.
at the time, the only information that was being presented was Latin jazz.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I'm always saying that to drummers too. There's a difference. I always tell drummers, you have to know the difference between the English Caribbean, between the French Caribbean, and between it's meant, because it's the tinge are a little different. It's not, you know, I have a tune called Seawell, and it's the perfect example. I remember playing it in Curaçao. And those cats played perfect because they do understand. I feel like in Curaçao, they understand the connection between all three. They knew that it wasn't quite timba. It's not, you know, song, but it's a specific Philly sound.
Yeah.
And so then when I play it and the Spanish, they're timba, you know, and I played in Haiti, clearly they, you know, play compa. And the US, I'm still not sure what they're doing, but I think a lot of American drummers, shout out to them, you know, but they always treat the Caribbean as a calypso. And my good friend and I, Itcha and Charles, we always tease. We have an inside joke, not so inside now. We said, "Oh, boom, ti, boom, ti, boom." Anything Caribbean, they're gonna go boom, ti, boom, ti, boom, ti, boom, ti. Like, yep, I nailed it. Man. You know, it's kind of like that jazz, I guess, imperial hierarchy mindset. Like, yeah, I can play jazz. Yeah, I can play that. Or they did that Afrobeat, like, you know, Fela, you know, like some kind of high life. And they're like, yeah, we nailed it. But I always tell drummers, know the difference because it's very important.
It's kind of been my thing that I've been, you know, struggling with for a long time. And when I did my master's, I did a paper on the role of a drummer in a jazz group versus a drummer in a non-traditional group. And I interviewed Herlin Riley, and, you know, we talked about it because the challenge is a lot of American drummers don't get the exposure of playing with a hand drummer.
Absolutely.
Whether is a calypso or you know, reggae with a, you know, with a Nyabinge groove, or if it's a Latin thing, just playing with another drummer. It doesn't have to be a drum set, but just playing those parts. They never get that. They never hear that. So when that time comes to play with another drummer, a hand drummer, it's foreign. And that's something that's like a conversation I've been having with a lot of drummers. Like, how do we start educating drummers that this is, you know, this is a new process, because world music is becoming more evident, you know, in the mainstream and more popular, and a lot of cats have no clue what to do, you know. So you're hitting the nail on the head, man. But there's a distinctive difference between the American, the French, and the Spanish, Latin, you know, and even the Brazilian. Once you get the Brazilian,
big time,
and all road leads back to Africa, because my first trip to Africa in 1998 with the great Papa Wrangling, Ernest Wrangling, we recording with Baba Mao. We were there for 2 weeks, and every night when we weren't recording, we went out. I heard some of the best Latin music in Africa that I've ever heard in my life. And that's when the cats started to say that the clave, the 2-3, the 3-2 clave, is just one component of the many rhythms. And then it started to make sense to me, because it's like in the Caribbean, the clave is gold in Latin music, but it's just the many rhythms. It's just like you have the blues scale, you have the diminished scale, bebop scales, and they all give you different sounds. So these different claves give you different rhythm components to work on. So that's but you're nailing it, man. You're on point.
Absolutely. So I'm always, you know, stressing that connection, understanding you know, the difference, the subtle difference. And I think one of the main things, maybe one of the main things that I guess can affect the way that American drummers hear it, or in general Americans, is the concept of the 2/4. We kind of treat it as gold. The rest of the world don't feel that. It's downbeat. You know, but in America, people always treat that taboo. And I've also come to understand that a lot of the bebop masters felt more of the bigger downbeat, like this. But when I hear
Right,
Charlie Parker play, I hear
right.
that he's feeling it like that. And when I was in the institute, I got a chance to study with Jimmy Heath, and I was surprised to see he was feeling the beat on the downbeat.
Yeah, a lot of
Because
cats tap on 1 and 3.
yeah. People forget the 2 and 4 is the dance,
Right. That's yeah.
but it's not the go-to. It's not the destination. It's the dance. Ding, ding, boom, ding, ding. That's the dance,
Right.
but I still feel the down.
Yeah.
And people always ask me about rhythm. Oh man, you use a lot of like I'm feeling the downbeat. The downbeat is my go-to. It's my clave.
And the interesting thing is in Senegal, what I learned, a lot of the music, so they call the grosses, the bass, and the cascada,
Yeah. Of course.
snare leads, doom, 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 the snare is like, and then it was like, by the time it got to America, because the bass drum was the biggest sound, that became the one. So it became boom, 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 and it's like, yeah, but it's backwards.
Right.
So it's really interesting, man. It's unless you go there to Africa and like start hearing that, Babatunde Olatunji drums a passion from Nigeria. I played with him for 8 years, and he would sit us down and just explain all of that too, man. But that's something that I think every instrumentalist should take the time to do that. And that's why you play with a lot of drummers, in my opinion. It's just my opinion, because you understand that, man. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But your new project lends testament to the research you've done and the dedication into the music from a harmonic standpoint, from a rhythmic standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, because you have a lot of everything in there, man. You got something.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's always the goal. Yeah, that's always what I'm thinking about. Something for literally for everyone. And I'm always thinking, because I'm such a student of history, I'm always thinking of our history as I guess Pan Americans. I always tell people I treat our continent. I look at it as a continent in whole. So I'm invested culturally, musically, and stuff from the Caribbean to South to North. To Central in between, because I think our history is unique. We're a younger continent, and it's the perfect fusion of native European and African DNA. And I'm always trying to showcase that and kind of like sell it to the world, because to me today, Pan American music is really global music. It's in the modern age, everything to me is influenced by the music here.
Yeah, it is, and I'm glad you're saying that, because not too many people understand that. Of course, wherever you live, you're gonna think that's gold, and Americans think like America is what it is. But from a cultural standpoint, man, growing up, I heard everything. I heard top 40, I heard reggae, I heard classical, Benin, Brasilia, and so I was already open to like everything. It wasn't like I just listened to this is the radio station I listen to, and that's it. So the information we got was from from the whole entire diaspora, not just we had a huge American influence, but we also had all the other Caribbean islands and a strong African influence as well. So that comes up. Let me ask you this. So this new project you have, your new recorded Psalms and Proverbs, what's the concept behind that?
The concept behind Psalms and Proverbs, so it was originally started as the Continuum of Global One, which was kind of like a musical manifesto of the history of, I guess, African people brought to the New World. Where I focus on what I tell people, the 4 hubs of culture in this continent, meaning New Orleans, Latino Haiti, Santiago de Cuba, and also Brazil. The music of Bahia, Brazil. And where I tell different stories, not only focusing on those hubs, but where I tell folklores from the English Caribbean, from the French Caribbean, from the blues to the church to Central American fable and presente, which is a tune I wrote that addresses that, and then things that, and then rhythmically addressing everything that we have. So this was a continuation of that. As I was working on the music, I noticed a common theme, which was a lot of Psalms and Proverbs and the titles.
Mhm.
And then as I was thinking some more about it, I thought about my own music education and in general jazz history. To me, jazz history has always been one because of its African influence
Mhm.
and contribution, that you always saw the aspect of the concept of praising, right? A masters always say that you play music for a higher purpose. When you
The higher
interview
purpose, right?
John Coltrane, you always see that spiritual component. So then I realized, to me, that the history of jazz, when we talk about the Black American experience, is one of psalms, of song of praise, and fables and proverbs. A lot of those blues titles are proverbs,
Mhm.
are songs that tells a story about this, and so that's kind of like where I started. And then at the same time, I was kind of doing research in terms of like intersection, in terms of like religion, for example, the sacred sound of Togo,
Mhm.
and then some of the hymns that we hear here and how they're connected,
Right.
which is like the first tune that deals with that. And so I wanted to tell the story of the different denominations that we find. So it's also that too,
Right.
within the sacred space, And so then I wanted to tell a story about a proverb about knowing self. One of the main issue that we tend to have in the Americas deal with identity, like, kind of like, who are we?
Mhm.
And one of them is hair. Hair is a big, big business here. So that's why I wrote the tune Pelo Malo as a proverb,
Right.
kind of think
Yeah.
of church. This is
Right.
my proverb to you,
Right.
to really understand that beauty lies within one's own eyes.
Right. Right.
So hence the concept of bad hair is I feel like it's a major issue, specifically in the Americas. We find it in
Yeah.
all of the different
Oh yeah.
sectors. Why it's
Yeah.
a $1 trillion industry, and I wanted to tell that story
Yeah.
via timba. I wanted to get some timba. Shout out to the great Axel Toscalao God, his mother, the Queen Xiomara Lao God, all Cuban
Mhm.
legends, and also Leah Lorien, who wrote the lyrics, beautiful lyrics to Pelo Malo.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to include music like that. I also wanted to address kind of some of the situations that's occurring in Haiti with the
Okay.
tune Problème is a very popular song in Haiti that talks about, no matter what, whatever issue we have, everything will be all right. It's kind of like a positive reinforcement that,
Right.
things will be all right. So, and then I also wanted to feature some of my dad's composition in Psalms 23. My dad, I remember, towards the end of his life, was working on music to every single song. But prior
Okay.
to that, every year, the church in Haiti, I think every Christmas or New Year, he would teach the church a new song. So Psalm 23 was one of the popular ones, and I always loved that melody. So I put my spin on that. And I also featured music from my uncle, the late Bernard St. Fleur, who was also, a musician, pastor, educator, and his tune kind of deal with kind of like, come on, tomorrow's not promised, so get your life right. I wanted
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
I
This is
wanted
a
to
lot of
tell
heavy
them,
stuff, man. It's a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
heavy
yeah. And then, so you
stuff.
have gospel to me. So it's kind of like the history of jazz, I tell people. So it's not
Yeah.
only, spiritual. Yes, you will be saved.
Right.
However, it tells the history of, our history,
Our history, exactly, which is
Yeah, yeah,
important. That's why you're
yeah.
here on Sounds of
Yeah,
the
the story of
Diaspora.
the blues. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. The sound of, the blues and
Yeah.
all the different things that the blues mean.
Great. Great.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that being said, man, you shared this wonderful recording with us. And let's jump into it, man. And we're going to
Yeah.
start off with Showers of Blessings. Let's check it out.
All right. Great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So my shower's a blessing. My question for you is it 6, 12? How are you counting it?
I'm thinking of it's funny when I write the music, right? I wrote it in 3. And
Okay.
so when I play with European musicians, sometimes they have a hard time because of the downbeat. Because me, I'm
You going
thinking
1, 2, 3, done, 2,
yeah,
3.
we
Okay.
can do it, but they're always thinking too much. Simply like they think it. I'm like, no,
Right,
they
right.
think.
The
So
thing.
that's how I'm treating
Yeah,
it.
that
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly.
That's why I was saying 12 because I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Exactly.
7, 9,
Yeah,
and
you
10.
can look at it like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what
Bigger,
I'm thinking.
bigger phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, bigger phrases. Yeah, exactly. So
Oh,
that's yeah.
man, wow. That's what I enjoy, man. Is the ostinato that's going but it's like a hypnotic low. But then you got this underlying rhythm, and Obed is just like he's just boiling that water, man. It's like
And you notice the fusion, right? So he's going between the nago, like that 6/8 Dalmir rhythm, to
right,
the laga. Sometimes I keep
exactly. That's why I was asking about the six.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
that's one thing that we're able to do, which is why I always call Obed and a drummer like Harvel Nakundi too, because
Mhm.
we've developed this language where we can always go to Haiti.
Right.
We can play giants. It doesn't matter what tune. As soon as I go, boom, boom, beat, they go there, and then we go back to it. You see, I'm confused. Yeah. Or any Caribbean cats, they always know to go there.
Yeah.
Student that tried that, I tell that story, and I told them, maybe don't do that. It sounded a little weird because he kind of noticed that we do that. So I was playing something, and we're like swinging, and then he went into that. I was like, it might be borderline appropriation. We don't want that. I have to quote something for you to go there.
Yeah. Follow the leader, like it's
Exactly.
like but it's I'm enjoying this, man, because when I came to New York in 1990, like this wasn't being played. It was like I mean, and I'm not dismissing anything. I'm just happy to hear a sound that's familiar being incorporated in the improvisational structure.
Exactly. That's how I look at it, and that's always been my philosophy too. Like to introduce other elements that are tied to that culture.
Yeah. And it's something to be said about it, the validation coming from that culture, because I think because you're here and Obed and Jonathan and the Etiennes and myself and the Victor Provost and and we have that other sound to incorporate as much as we understand the 2/5s and all of that. It's now just like you came up in church and you did something with a church song, and it's now like easy for us to kind of like in our own way like incorporate those various elements.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's great,
So
man. I'm enjoying this, man. Yes. Psalms and Proverbs. I'm loving this, man. Well, let's keep flowing with Problem Yo.
Good no problem. Let's check that one out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a traditional Haiti
Yeah,
composition.
yeah, that's a tune. Yeah, written. It was a very, very popular tune, I would say, and like the revival. So many people don't know that in the mid '90s, Haiti went through like an embargo,
Mhm.
pretty much because when President Aristide was ousted, it was a gentleman by the name of Raoul Cedras, and that's the time I was living in Haiti. So it represents kind of like my personal music history too, because
Right.
that's like one of the songs that you would always hear people talk about, Problème, so it's kind of like represents that. And it's also a nostalgic song that speak of the time, which is a very similar time that Haiti's going through right now, in terms
Right.
of like the problems but Haitian people always believe, things will work out for the best. So we're just, waiting for things to work out so that we can so that
Right.
we're to yeah. Hmm.
Right. So I can hear the different grooves in the song. It kind of have this underlying bolero,
Yeah,
kind
exactly. That's exactly what
yeah.
it is. It's a bolero.
But then
Yeah.
on top of it, Obed is playing this like bomba pattern. Tang, 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 tang,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
some kind
Yeah, we
of
have the Congo. Exactly.
rhythm on top. I'm like,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got the Congo C. Yeah, under. That's the
Yeah,
group I
yeah.
wanted him to do. Because I said I can go into the bull because I believe in the different universe. Like so I can, as an improviser, rhythmically tap into the bolero, or I can go more into the
Exactly.
bomba danson, whatever
Right.
you want to call it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In
Yep.
between, yeah. So it's kind of that those kind of universe. Yeah, great ears. Of course, you're
Yeah, man.
master, you would hear that. Yeah, but these are all the hidden messages, that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm decoding it, bro.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm sitting
exactly.
up
So
here
that's
decoding it, man. It's like I do my homework, but that's what I say. I'm so happy to hear this, man. I thought I used to be frustrated, man. I would go out there to hear music and go talk to cats, and it's like nobody wanted to hear. Like I'm like this sounds like this, man. I don't know what that is. They just leave it alone. So I was like,
right.
that's what I'm so happy to just hear this fusion of all this great rhythms and music and the traditions come to light playing on this level. That's the thing, because the music has always been. I mean, if you look at like just a blues scale, if you look at the basic calypso and the blues, it's the same notes, but
Absolutely.
certain things just never got to a certain level, you know,
Hmm.
from a musicianship, and it just kind of stayed on a party phrase in the streets versus being on the stage and being part of the education platform to discuss. Yeah, we're going to talk about the blues, but nobody will connect those rhythms that we grew up with on that same level. But
Exactly.
that's yeah, and that's
That's
what
why
I'm
I was. Yeah, exactly, exactly, Maestro. And that's why I'm always talking about the Caribbean connection, because when you take a tune like "Fire Under There," that movement, da 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 da, that's
having.
always been a big part of jazz history,
Yeah,
and people approach it like that.
yep,
And just the mere fact that Maestro Sonny Rollins, who's still with us, is a major contributor to
yeah,
this music, and he was kind of like, we can say, really the first to really tap into that sound. It shows that the fusion has always been there, and
always
of
been
course, in the '50s with like Q Bop and all of that.
dizzy
Uh,
and yeah,
yeah,
yep,
Dizzy, they were tapping into it. Then there
yep,
was a long pause,
yeah,
and so now we're kind of trying to,
yeah.
remind cats that this
But
is
it's always been there. It's always been there from the beginning.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I'm enjoying this, man. You have no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. I told my students about that fire on there. I'm like, yeah, what you guys know at this tune, this is what it is. And they're like,
Yeah.
what?
My
I said, yeah,
grandmother told me, boy, there's fire down there. That's St.
exactly.
Thomas.
Yeah, yeah,
Every
yeah.
island sings a different version of it. It's like
Exactly.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
this yeah. But hey man, it's so good to hear that. That's all I'm saying.
I
but
appreciate
but
you.
but yeah, man, we this is beautiful. This is beautiful. But I want to keep moving forward because you got some great music here.
Oh,
And
thank you.
this
Thank you.
next one, you said this is a tribute to your father, one of his compositions, Psalms
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Psalms
20
23. Yeah.
Part 2.
22.
So let's check this one out.
Oh, I can't hear you, Maestro. You muted. You still muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we good?
Yeah, we're good now.
Yeah, that's definitely a song. I can hear that being played in church, man.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Everyone,
Yeah. And
people
then
sing.
he wrote music to all of the Psalms, huh?
Yeah, he wrote music to all of the Psalms, and this one was Psalm 23 is the most popular one, but because he wrote it in sections, my creative side turned it into like 3 different sections of the tune. To each section, though, so that's just part 2 and then part 3, like that. I turned it into 3 different, I guess, tunes.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can listen to that, man. That's it's when music kind of puts you in a mode and you can hear it. Like I could close my eyes and like be in church listening to that, like setting up the next,
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I was supposed to include my mother singing the whole thing, but because nowadays with labels, everything got to be a certain length, I took it off. I said, let me just play them, and maybe one day live, if my mother is there, I'll just make her sing the whole thing with the organ, and like, that's what's happening. And then actually I just thought of that. One of the next time we do this, if my mother is there, I'll make her do duo with the organ, sing the whole thing, and then we play the arrangement, which people appreciate too. Like, that's what it is, and he'll be great for the mic too, for the announcing, for the overall show. Like people, it's a great thing. Oh, now you're gonna get to my mom version. Now you're gonna see what we do. Those of you that don't know music, this is how arrangement work.
How it evolves from just a duet organ piano into the full orchestration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great. Well, man, we have one more, then we have a quick presentation that you shared with us, and this is from the album popular song Palo Malo. So let's check.
Let's check absolutely.
Yep.
ojos refinados estoy abrazando lo que es mío. Una corona de cabello suave divina, ingobernable, salvaje, baila libre. Una textura no siempre fácil de ver, pero te contaré una historia de autodescubrimiento, un viaje de amor desde dentro para hacer pelo de pañal, o cómo desafias los estándares de la sociedad, alcanzas el cielo a través de los nudos y las bobinas. Ahora me doy cuenta que la belleza yace dentro de mis propios ojos.
¿Y qué pasa con el iré? En el iré que se lleva pelo malo, como dice, ¡ay, qué rico! Esto es para usar. Pelo malo, pelo malo, pelo malo. Pelo malo, no es un concepto que va. Me lo tocas de nuevo, voy a pensar que tú crees, Mi cabello, una corona, una reina, yo me siento. Babalúaye, babalúaye, baba. Se lo dejo a Mambo Jovi.
Yes, sir. Pelo Malo.
Indeed.
Party time.
Yes, indeed.
And you said that song is about the hair, right?
Yeah, it's about the whole concept of hair and how that's, especially in like Latin America, how it's kind of viewed. And I'll read you the lyrics that the young lady Leah Lorien wrote. It translates to, in a world where beauty is defined by glossy tresses so refined, I stand here embracing what's mine, a crown of nappy hair divine. Unruly wild, it dances free, a texture not always easy to see, but I'll tell you a tale of self-discovery, a journey of love from within to be nappy hair. Oh, how you defy society's standards. You reach the sky through your knots, and the coils are not realized that beauty lies within my own eyes.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, kind of raising awareness, to
Right.
all of our queens, all of our sisters, and sometimes I add brothers too, because sometimes I go to Brazil and our brothers are not happy with their hair, or in Europe, Afro-Europeans, you see that a lot.
Yeah.
So that's not my thing. And speaking of history of jazz, all of our heroes in the 40s and 50s, you see everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone
the
had curly.
and all of that.
Yeah. All of them, and it's kind of like,
yeah.
So it's
That was
jazz history.
that was a trend.
Exactly. That was the trend. So, but now, thanks to the 70s, we're getting there.
Yeah,
More appreciative. Yeah.
great, man. Great. Well, man, time is not on our side right now, but
Right.
you shared with us another video, and this is by the time when you usually ask what you have going on. But before we do that, I want to play this last video because this is a Psalms and Proverbs promo that you shared with us.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I would love for audience.
I could have shared this tune, Big Baham, with you all, but it's okay. It's one I recorded in Africa with an amazing Beninois. It's percussion heavy. You would appreciate that.
Wow.
One.
Please send that to me, man. Send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, please send that to me. But let's check this out real quick so our audience can see what you have going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we have Hoagie on bass, Axel Toscala on piano, Johnny Mercier on organ, Billy Boss on trumpet, Maestro Ben Calvert, and a bunch of special guests, Maestro Marcus Schwartz. Let's go!
My name is Etienne Charles, excited to be a guest on his album. I think the project's incredible. The project is special. Great instrumentation, great writing, great arranging, great players. Looking forward to seeing what happens.
You got Palo Malo taking us home.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, man, it's been such a joy, man, having you on the show, sharing with your wonderful music. I mean, all of the rhythms of the Afro-Caribbean diaspora and the harmonies and the special guests you have on your projects and the musicians. Thank you for joining us, man. I know you're super busy and it took us a while to coordinate this, but thank you, man.
Really appreciate it, Marsha. Thank you for your patience too. I know it was like crazy traveling and teaching and then try to get, the links like, oh, let me send this or sign this form, but thank you for having me and I hope to, play. We hope to play something.
The
University of the Virgin Islands, we hope to come down there.
Yes, sir. All of that's in the future, man. All of that's in the future. So we're going to continue our conversations offline and do our thing. But please let our audience know where they can follow, how they can follow you through social media, website,
Yes. So I'm on I would say the most active on Instagram, which is at Godwin Louis, Loue. I'm also on Facebook, so they can, just type Godwin Louis. Just started a YouTube channel, so you can find me there as well. So I'll have some content coming, of course, on Spotify, all of the other, and then also on my website, godwinlouis.com. There's a lot of really cool projects coming up. So between all of those different platforms, you know, they'll find me there.
Great. Well, my good brother, thank you again for being
Thank
here, sharing your music, man. It's been a pleasure, man. You be
Thank
safe
you.
in all your journeys and continue success, and we'll be
Thank you.
connected soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again, Maestro. I'm truly honored, and we'll see you soon.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Sir. Bye-bye. The one and only Godwin Louis, as you can hear, he's doing some amazing work, you know, presenting all aspects of the Afro-Caribbean diaspora. So we're very happy that he could join us and share that with you. Next week, we have another talented artist coming up, someone that I've worked with for many years, toured the world with a number of different configurations, musical configurations. Please join me in bringing the one and only Mr. Ira Coleman to Sounds of the Diaspora next week. So we look forward to seeing you there, joining us with Ira. All the best. Take care.